So, Marvel just dropped their very first issue of Children of the Atom. And is it as bad as the trailer made it out to be? Let's have a look. So, before I'm going to start with my very first review on my channel and about Children of the Atom number 1, I want to quickly talk about the trailer that has been dropped 1 year ago. Marvel really wants to hype up this series, Children of the Atom, and it was not received very positively. And the main two reasons were that they kept talking about creating new characters. And this is a good thing. X-Men is known as a series that is very good at mixing up the status quo. They've done a few of the most famous characters we now love today are a change of the status quo with giant-sized X-Men number 1. Also the same goes for New Mutants, a very beloved series which was actually sort of this idea, creating a younger version of the X-Men with new characters. So creating new characters normally isn't really a problem. However, the problem here was they are basically redesigns of already existing characters, and a lot of people did not dig that. However, you say, if they have very interesting personalities, maybe that will change. And they also said in the trailer, we have extremely interesting personalities. And then instead of talking about those very interesting personalities, they started talking about their social media activity, which was mainly, one of them was a TikToker, the other one is an Instagrammer, then there's also one that makes music, there's also someone who is a moderator for a subreddit, and those things are not personalities, they're hobbies. It's a different thing, Marvel. However, Marvel really just wanted to hype up this new thing of Zoomers becoming X-Men. And instead of being interested to Zoomers, I think they just came off as boomers trying to be hip, which is a shame. Well, now that we've talked about the trailer, I want to quickly talk about the comic book. But first I want to quickly credit the creators, which is Vita Ayala, who is the writer, Bernard Cheng, who is the artist, and Marcelo Maiolo, who is the coloring artist. I'm sorry if I butchered those names. And the art of this book is good. Like the fighting scenes, it's very clear who's who. They are nicely drawn, and also the character designs of the famous characters also look good. There is one thing, like I stated earlier, with just the main characters being redesigned, so they did not look very interesting. However, I did kind of dig the design of Cherub, which is Angel. What I also really liked was that the alter egos of these characters, they looked very distinct. And even though we did not really know these characters, when we saw them outside of their costumes, they were easily recognizable and you kind of got an idea of who these characters were. Now I'm going to talk about the story. Vita promises a lot. They thought that it would be this amazing story with these great backstories, and when I've read it, it really wasn't. The story started out with an interesting scene, and it was like, I think this group is going to be called the Children of the Atom. They don't really have a name yet, however, we just saw the kids fight a bank robber. And the scene was interesting because they are clearly not professional superheroes, and you see that in their fighting styles. They make mistakes, and that was really fun. It was a nice little detail that they were not great at it. However, one thing I really disliked about the scene was the amount of jokes they made. You know those that people sometimes blame Marvel movies for being too funny and everyone trying to irritate each other. That was this to the max, and it felt very cringy for me for that reason. Now on to the next part of the story, which then a few X-Men arrive and say like, hey, have you heard about Krakoa, this very nice island we have? Do you guys want to join? And they basically say, no, we don't want to, we need to protect Earth, we're also busy with school and stuff. So it's a weird reason. And later we see Storm, Jean Grey, Logan and Cyclops talk about that. I'm not going to go too much in depth right now, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later in the video, but then with a spoiler mark. Then we see a lot about their high school stuff, which was not very interesting. It was just basic high school stuff, like, hey, she's my best friend since we were little, and I have a crush on him, and he is also a good friend with him. Was not really interesting. There was also the scene about two popular guys, a guy and a girl, fighting with the main character about X-Men rights, which was kind of interesting to see the perspective of humans on Krakoa. However, the discussion they had was mainly, I don't like mutants, and then the main protagonist saying, oh, but that's because you're a bigot and an idiot. And it was disappointed, because I think there could be a lot of interesting discussions about Krakoa, but not in this book. Well, now before I'm going to warn you for spoilers. I'm not going to say the exact thing that happens in the book, however, if you want to have more of a surprise, just skip on later to the video. I will put a timestamp right here. Now, the spoiler part it's not really a spoiler, it's a theory I have, which is I'm 99% sure that's gonna be the big twist. However, like I stated earlier, some of the X-Men came down and were like, hey, do you guys want to go to Krakoa? And they basically refused. Then we have this scene with Cyclops, Storm, Jean Grey and Wolverine talking about, hey, we need to protect these kids. They are just kids, they cannot fight in the streets like this. They need to go to Krakoa. And they don't, and Cyclops just says, yeah, but if they don't want to, we cannot force them. And then someone says, we can also not find them on Cerbero. And then, I think it's Cyclops again who says it. It's like, oh, but maybe they're blocking the Cerbero with their minds. And that's just stupid. Like, I'm 99% sure that the big twist is they're not mutants. They are, I think, just normal kids with technology who got these powers. Like, also the suits look very modern and futuristic, so I think that's the reason they have their powers. Do I like this twist? Yes and no. I think it could be an interesting story, like kids who look up to the mutants trying to become mutants. However, I don't think this is a story to do it for. So, to round it all up, what did I think about this book? I like the idea of there are kids who idolize mutants, so they want to become crime fighters and X-Men like them. And to see that merge a little bit with Krakoa. I think it's an interesting concept, however I don't think it's executed very well. I think the social issues with the discussions about Krakoa were done very childish. I also think that even though the idea is very cool, is that the characters are not executed very well. It's just basic teenager stuff. So in the end, is Children of the Atom good or bad? I think it's better than I expected it to be. However, it's not worth your time. I also think because of the huge backlash it has, that the reason that it's being delayed so much is to write out the important parts. So if you just want to follow Hickman's amazing story on X-Men, which I can highly recommend, like almost all of these books are amazing, you can just skip this one.